welcome to today's show. I wanted to cover the Super Bowl on Sunday. Before it happens, I wanted to talk about how it is going to be a massive ritual. Now, I know people get over dramatic with this stuff, and people listen and they go, oh, please, it's fear mongering. This is going to be a massive ritual. This is going to be more than just an indoctrination on the masses. Timberlake, I've been covering him for a while. Obviously, we all know he went through the Disney mind control programming, as most of them do. But now, with his latest album, we see supplies with the pyramid, the burning of the money, the Antichrist worship, the cryptocurrency, all this stuff that he's pushing there. And of course, the other video that he had pushing transhumanism. These are going to be things that happen at the Super Bowl halftime show, along with this push of this feminist movement, this Time's Up thing. They'll tie that into it, because that's the big thing right now. A few years ago, we saw Beyonce, Bruno Mars tie in the Black Lives Matters, Black Panthers stuff to rile people up. And the constant theme, of course, was love, because the Antichrist comes in the name of love. Remember, Aleister Crowley's Do What Thou Wilt is under the umbrella of love. And I'm going to show an important clip towards the end of this video, so please make sure that you stay and listen to this in its entirety. Now, I want to reference something. A lot of people passed this along to me, and I checked it out, and I have to give credit to the channel who did this. He backmasked the Justin Timberlake Filthy song. The channel's called Logic Before Authority. I will leave his link to his video if you want to watch the video in its entirety, linked up below. There's some parts that are hard to hear because of the beats in the song, but the backmasking on Timberlake's Filthy song talks about bowing down and serving Satan, how they love Satan, and everybody needs to give in. You can listen to some clips right now. Take a listen. So people out there will go, well, what's the big deal? And I've covered backmasking many times, okay? Aleister Crowley created what was known as the law of reversal, okay? Backwards playing of records was advised as training for musicians and occultists in his 1913 book, Magic. He talked about training himself to think backwards by external means, one of which was to listen to phonograph records in reverse. He told his followers, the people who listen, and we know everybody in Hollywood, everyone in the music industry now worships him. They are his followers. You go from the Beatles all the way down to Jay-Z. All of these people have always worshipped and followed his teachings. That's how they became famous. That's how the occult took control, and they started using his teachings in the mainstream. And that's what backmasking with Beatles songs, with song after song, we've heard backmasking. People go, well, what's the big deal? You sound like crazy people listening to it in reverse. Because they were taught. Crowley taught all of his followers, if they wanted to be true magicians, true practitioners, that they had to learn to do things in reverse. That doesn't just mean moonwalk or walk in reverse. To speak in reverse, to do subliminal programming, because the brain still processes, even though you don't get it. Okay, you're going to listen to a song, your brain, as you're watching it, is going to hear it in regular motion. But your brain also processes it backwards, and they use it for subliminal mind control. And you can hear what Timberlake was pushing and saying in that song. It's pretty clear, the Satan stuff in that song. And this is not the first time it's happened, it's not the last. Okay, there's channels that strictly do backmasking and talk about backmasking, and it's important. It's very important to understand why they do this, because this is how the occult and these practitioners operate, and this is how the mind control in the masses continues to go on. And it is a scary thing. It is a scary thing because it's it's something you can't really see in real time. You have to break it down and go backwards, so people don't realize this stuff, and it's happening all the time. All you can tell people is turn off the music, turn off the TV, but they don't. So this ritual is going to take place. And another thing that is of huge concern, at least for me looking at it, not just the, the fact that they're going to push transhumanism and the feminist stuff and the love everyone stuff, the tolerance stuff, is Timberlake has this song Mirrors. I've covered it before. He's got mirrors, he's got magic. Everyone saw the cover of the album where he's doing the 666 over his eye. There's supposed to be a big ritual involving mirrors. Now, I can't confirm this because a lot of stuff has leaked what he's going to be doing, but there's a lot of hints that he's going to be doing something with mirrors because at least these media outlets like Forbes and others have been claiming that it's like one of the most downloaded songs of his, and it's more of a mellow song, so they might mix it in. Listen, we could care less about the songs and about this guy and what his set list is, but the reason that it's important is because with mirrors being involved, mirrors are used in these black magic rituals. So if he's going to be using backmasking and he's going to be using mirrors, this is likely going to be a massive ritual on all the people listening. Now, the people who hear this video and follow my channel will understand it. Others who stumble upon it are going to laugh because they don't get it. Because they're what? They're prideful. They're taught to be self-empowered, to worship thyself, right? Do without wilt. And then they think everything's a big joke because they think that they're big, tough superheroes in this world, and they don't realize that they're nothing to the elites but cattle. And they're using them and mind controlling them into going to hell. They're enslaving them. So on Sunday, we've seen, like I said, these other performances before. We've seen Madonna and her Baphomet performance. We've seen Katy Perry ride in as the Whore of Babylon. This is so important for them, like I've said a million times, because the most eyeballs in America are on the Super Bowl. It's the most watched show every single year. We all know, they have all these new commercials, right? They indoctrinate people with new commercials. Okay, you'll probably see some Illuminati commercials like the Taco Bell one because they know that they need to deflect and use comedy and deflect the severity of this stuff to people so that they're desensitized from it and they think it's a big joke. And then they'll use the halftime show to actually perform the ritual. We saw at the Super Bowl a few years ago with the Ravens and the 49ers with the 33-minute power outage that occurred. And then what's come from that, Colin Kaepernick is the leader of this, movement of taking a knee and protesting the national anthem. These things don't happen by coincidence. The Super Bowl is always used for these types of rituals, these type of ceremonies. So are the Olympics, the opening ceremonies and the closing ceremonies, okay? And if there's one next week, I'll likely cover that as well with the Olympics. But for Sunday, this is going to be a big one. It's going to be involving mirrors. It's going to be involving transhumanism. It's going to be involving the other agendas, the Time's Up stuff, brainwashing people to go along with it. But also don't forget the importance of understanding that these people worship Crowley. Everything they do is following his teachings. Okay? I'm going to play a clip here. I want everyone to listen to it. About 5 minutes. But just if you don't understand, for people who might stumble upon this, it might be a new video for them. They've never seen the channel. But even those of you who do understand, just to refresh and understand Crowley and his teachings and why it's so important to them. So take a listen.
There's one guy who pops up so often, you'd think he'd invented the backbeat. The Beatles featured him, along with Aldous Huxley and 4 Hindu masters, on the cover of their Sgt. Pepper's album. The photo montage was made up of what they called people we like and admire, and our heroes. Their choice was a significant one. Aleister Crowley is generally considered to be the most important and influential occultist of the 20th century. Clever, well-educated, and a prolific writer, Crowley was a walking encyclopedia of occult thought and practice. Dubbed the wickedest man in the world by the British press, Crowley preferred his own pseudonym, the Great Beast 666. In August of 1914, the World magazine published an account of some of the semi-public ceremonies Crowley held in London. Journalist Harry Kemp attended one such ritual and noted, "Then came the slow, monotonous chant of the high priest. There is no good, evil is good. All hail, Prince of the world, to whom even God himself has given dominion." Kemp continued, sounding for all the world like he was describing any number of contemporary rock concerts. Men and women danced about, leaping and swaying to the whining of infernal and discordant music. They sang obscene words. Women tore their bodices, some partially disrobed. One fair worshiper, seizing upon the high priest's dagger, wounded herself in the breasts. At this, all seemed to go madder than ever. Such was Crowley's ministry at the age of 39. By the time he died 33 years later, fearful, sobbing, and with the last words, "I am perplexed," upon his lips, his dark legacy had reached sufficient critical mass to almost single-handedly, in the words of occult writer Robert Anton Wilson, spark a worldwide revival of paganism.
Well, in 1918, Crowley took a great magical oath, which was a serious thing for Crowley. And he took an oath that he would surrender all of his magical powers that he had achieved until that date to concentrate his energy single-pointedly on the one task of destroying Christianity and reviving paganism. And I think if you look around the world, it's pretty obvious that Crowley has been a remarkable success. The paganism has made a big comeback in an organized way. Neo-pagan groups and unorganized way, our whole society has become more pagan.
I'll tell you, when I was a kid, I read Robert Anton Wilson and all this, and here we are, we're standing here, we're talking about this, and it's real. If you do these things that you're told by Aleister Crowley, if you actually do what they say, things happen. Things occur exactly as it's described, and we can all do it.
In 1971, Timothy Leary had an epiphany during a tarot reading that utilized a set of cards designed by Crowley. His revelation? That he was Crowley reborn and was to complete the work Crowley began, preparing humanity for cosmic consciousness. Leary acknowledged this powerful connection with the great beast in a letter to Wilson, observing that the coincidences, synchronicities between my life and his are embarrassing. From this connection flowed frequent references to Crowley, his philosophy, and their common destinies in Leary's writings and speech.
Well, I've been an admirer of Aleister Crowley. I think that I'm carrying on much of the work that he started over 100 years ago, and I think the 60s themselves. You know, Crowley said he was in favor of finding your own self and do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law under love. It was a very powerful statement. I'm sorry he isn't around now to appreciate the glories that he started.
The phrase, "do what thou wilt," was taken from the Book of the Law, Crowley's most renowned work, and one whose composition is worth understanding in the context of our study. While visiting Egypt in 1904, Crowley's first wife, Rose, began going into spontaneous trances, muttering things like, "They are waiting for you," and "He who was waiting was Horus." Intrigued, Crowley and Rose went to visit the Cairo Museum. From a distance, she spied a glass case and exclaimed, there he is." Upon inspection, the case did contain an image of Horus painted on a wooden stele, but what particularly stunned Crowley was its exhibit number, 666, his number, the number of the beast. Convinced now that something supernatural was happening, Crowley went back to his hotel and performed a ritual, summoning this higher power. Over 3 successive days, beginning on April 8th, the book was channeled through Crowley while in a trance, and the content of this revelation? "I am the snake that giveth knowledge," the spirit said. "To worship me, take wine and strange drugs, whereof I will tell my prophet."
Okay, so that right there just summarizes this guy. This is the guy they worship. This is the mindset. Remember, I said the Antichrist comes in the name of what? Love and peace and world peace. Okay? And even Crowley teaches that all of this stuff, the do without will, is under love, right? The geist of love. It's something that it's so I don't even know what the word is to describe it. It's such a massive mind trick, right? Because If you go anywhere and you talk to people about love in a negative sense, they just like you're out of your mind. You know, people mess with me. They're just like, well, what are you talking about? You know, Jesus is love. And they get confused. They don't understand that they're blurring the lines here between stuff. They're taking some of Christ's message. They're mixing it in with New Age. They're mixing it in with mysticism, with black magic, right? So trick Christians and deceive them into being tolerant of everything and not truly understanding God's word. So love is a huge deception. It doesn't mean hate. I'm not saying hate people and, you know, and not love and care about people, but they're using it as part of this great deception that's occurring right now. And that's why you saw Believe in Love at the Super Bowl a few years ago with Coldplay, right? Nobody can argue. No one questions, yes, believe in love. You're like, you know, a person who thinks should just be like, what are they even talking about? Believe in love? But if you understand what is coming and what they're getting people prepared for and what we see, right? The only people who, you know, they talk about free speech and everybody's got free speech. Oh, this country, you know, it's your right to have your own opinion, except if it's hate speech, right? They use fat shaming and stuff, whatever they call it, right? If you make fun of somebody's looks, that's the kind of speech they want censored. Or if you talk about the LGBT, they want that censored. Yet they can say whatever they want about Christians, about Jesus. It's a giant hypocrisy. But it's all just moving towards censorship and acceptance of everything. And that is what the Antichrist is. That is what this whole thing is going to turn into. This New World Order is going to be, you know, a deception of loving and being tolerant of everything under complete slavery and complete control. But people aren't going to realize that they're under it. Because, to be honest, they already are. So keep an eye out on this with Timberlake. We got the backmasking stuff, which I pointed out, which, again, was from the channel Logic Before Authority. You can check his channel out below. Who did the backmasking on it. The law of reversals, understanding that. The ceremony likely involving mirrors. And then looking out for these other agendas. Because this is going to be a massive, massive ritual in my opinion. I thank you for listening to today's show. God bless all of you and your families.